glass.
And we are live. Yeah, we're 4 seconds live. That flew by. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We're going to say goodnight. No, I'm just kidding. The Mayor's Roundtable is on with 95.9 The River. I'm Scott McKay. Up in the top corner of 2/3 of Hollywood Squares is Danielle Tafano.
Hello.
And we are joined by some great mayors in our western suburbs. And Danielle, give me the top two.
As far as who's on this video and how we're laid out, I just want to be clear with that. So on the top row with me, right there to my left would be Steve Cherico, the mayor of Naperville. And then on the other side of him, Mayor Kevin Burns from Geneva.
And wait, I don't know if this is backwards. It is. So way over to that side is Mayor Richard Durbin of Aurora. Hello, Mayor. And then the center square on my row, I am Ruben Pineda, the mayor of West Chicago. How's everybody doing all at once?
Good.
Very good. Very good.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Good, great.
Absolutely. Good to be on with you guys again.
So how are you
Great
guys
to
feeling?
have you here.
I think we should first ask the mayor of Aurora, Mayor Richard Irvin, how you're feeling, because you've been through kind of a tough last month or so.
Oh, absolutely. I've been through it, and I feel so much better. But I can say that the symptoms that I experienced with COVID-19 and what I went through when I contracted it, no one wants to go through that. So I'd be happy just to explain what it was like so you don't have to experience it yourselves. And it was terrible. But on my way back and back in the saddle and ready to get to work.
Mayor, are you 100% or 95?
I'm about 95%. You know, I was sick for about 2 weeks straight, and during that 2-week period, I ate nothing, almost nothing. You know, just drank water for the most part. Couldn't even eat soup. I lost about 10 to 12 pounds, so it took me a while to get my strength back. But now I think I've gotten it back.
COVID-19 diet.
Yeah, right, exactly right.
Yeah.
The reason I was asking, Mayor, is because I was thinking about challenging these two other mayors to a little wrestling match. I figured you and me, I'll take you, and even at 95%, I'll take you.
No, I'm back, brother.
And we'll go against
95%. I'm good. And I'm a wrestler in high school, so I'm all good.
Hey, Steve, I didn't think we were going to bring that story up, did you? You don't need to go there again. Please.
I'm just telling you, I'm taking Irvin. You take
Trust me when I say that's not a good pick.
So Mayor Irvin, how much weight have you gained back?
I gained back about 6 pounds of it. As a matter of fact, I just weighed myself not too long ago. So, I think I'm good here. I've decided, this COVID diet that I had worked out for us.
What did you find? What were your first early symptoms, Mayor Irvin? Like, what were you feeling at first when you realized I should go get tested? Although there were other people within the city that.
Right. So for the first week, I was feeling cold symptoms. Just didn't feel. I felt uneasy. Didn't feel myself. And then one of my commanders that I'm in regular meetings with got tested positive, which prompted myself and the chief of police to get tested ourselves. And when I tested positive, it went downhill from there. And I experienced 2 weeks of pain and uncertainty and just hard to explain.
Wow.
We made it through. Let me explain one symptom that seems strange, other than the extreme headaches and the body aches and tremors, body tremors. When I sleep at night, I get these cold sweats. So I'd wake up at night and the upper part of my body, from my head where I had these headaches and fever to down my waist was hot. So I'd take off my shirt and it was so wet, it felt like I run underwater. But the bottom half of my body was cold, so cold I had to sleep with gym shoes on at night to keep my feet warm. Now
that sounds a little bit like my wife.
Yeah, exactly. Cold, right? I got you, brother. But that, trust me, there's nobody that cold. And just having to.
You'll hear a screech from her office in a minute.
Right, exactly right. I can't believe you said that, Scott.
What sounds like
I lost my sense of taste and smell. So even though I had no appetite, I couldn't taste or smell anyway. So wow. It was an experience. But I made it through, and the good thing about it is I'm able to tell this story. There are those that'll succumb to the symptoms and won't be able to tell this story. And I want to share to let people know that this is serious. It's real, and that what we're doing, all these mayors, making sure that our community is following the rules of our health professionals and sheltering at home and practicing, hygiene and the staying 6 feet away from each other. It's important, and we've got to do this to protect our community.
Mayor, how many other are any other personnel or staff at Aurora, have they gotten infected? Anybody else?
A large number of us did. Now, only about 4 of us got tested and tested positive. 4 or 5 of us. The other ones, because they weren't first responders or in positions like us, did not get tested, but they felt they had the same exact symptoms. And now that we're testing, you guys know that we just opened another testing site, brand new testing site, the National Guard did through the state of Illinois. And our testing numbers are going through the roof.
That's been pretty popular, that new testing site at the Aurora Outlet Mall.
I want to say Friday, it was at capacity before it even technically opened, I think.
Exactly right. It was at capacity. It opened at 8. It was at capacity at 8:15.
Yeah.
And the other 2 days it's been open. It's been at capacity by no later than 12 p.m.
Now, how about the rest of you guys? How about the rest of you guys with your city staff? Has everybody been healthy? Have you guys had anybody on your staff? Maybe start with Steve Cherico.
We've had 2 people tested positive, lots of negative tests. The 2 positive, one was a firefighter paramedic who is recovering and should be back to work soon. And the other one is a police officer who has recovered and is back to work. So out of 950 employees, we've had 2 people who have gotten infected. So we feel like pretty good about that.
Yep.
Good, great.
How about in Geneva, Mr.
Let me ask you. How many of those 950 have been tested?
Good question.
Well, the first responders, quite a few, because when we had one positive test in each one of those public safety departments, anybody who was in contact, we tested, because we just didn't want that to travel through the whole, public safety department. That would be a disaster. So, we have a fair amount tested in those 2 groups.
What about you, Kevin Burns from Geneva?
I'm still amazed at 950 employees in Naperville. What the? we have
How many out of your 6 employees?
Hey, Kevin, keep in mind we have 2 utilities, water and electric. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, my mom's the police chief and the city administrator, so far we are faring very well. We've had no risks, no test positives. We are, however, concerned with some of the rising cases in the community. We have 30 positive tests in the community. So when we do respond to issues, of course, that is heightened in terms of its concern.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Hey, Ruben?
We have not had any cases as far as our police or fire. We did have a couple of places here in town. One of our largest employer, Gelsert, they had 5 cases. So they shut down for a little while, but they are really following protocol. They're doing a great job. They are a family-owned business, and they've been taking care of our residents. They employ about 600 of our residents here in town, and they've really went above and beyond what they needed to do in order to keep the plant open. They make several essential things there, government products, and Pedialyte for one. That's pretty important right now.
Absolutely.
But they shut down for a few days, did a complete clean and cleansing, and now all their employees, every shift, they're running 3 shifts, have to come in with and sign a piece of paper that says that they don't know anybody that's been in contact with it or has it, and this is every shift, every day. Wow. 2,000 bandanas for the employees, and they're practicing the safe distance, the social distancing. But they're very important, and they need to stay open. Just a few cases out there in some of these plants. I've directed the people to the Attorney General's office and gave them that number. They do expect the mayors to do a lot of things. They want us to go in and shut down businesses and whatnot. And I just don't want to go there. And, it's important that we keep our people working in our economy, but safely, and we can do that. And, we've been talking a lot lately with the DuPage mayors about how to get this economy back up and running slowly and making sure that we do it in the correct way and in a safe way.
Absolutely.
And Mayor Cherico is involved with that. He runs our DuPage mayors and managers.
Yeah, we've been spending a lot of time on that lately, and I'll tell you, we have sure learned a lot in the last few months in terms of when was the last time you shook someone's hand, Mayor Durbin?
Man, and that's what we do for a living, man. We all shake hands. It's been
I know.
Strange when you walk in a room and you're bumping elbows or you're just kind of looking at somebody like, hey,
Yeah, and it's funny how everyday things that we used to do all the time that we just don't do anymore. And so we're going to have to keep incorporating those things into our life, I think, until there's a vaccine. But I think, it can be done. I mean, I think just look at the organizations that we're running with all these people doing their jobs and doing it safely. So, and I think that if we can do it in government, we certainly can do it in the private sector.
So if we were to go around and ask everybody about the impact on your city when it comes to retail or healthcare or even the things that have been extended like taxes and stuff like that, what have you guys found to be most impacting your own communities? And maybe we start this time with Kevin Burns.
There's multiple legs to that stool, if you will. Certainly the economic impact is going to be jarring. We don't have exact numbers. We can only speculate what they'll be. Will be significant. We are, of course, home to Northwestern's Del Nor Hospital that serves well over 100,000 people in the Tri-Cities, Elburn, and elsewhere. They have seen, obviously, cases. My daughter is a nurse in the beautiful city of Aurora. She has experiences herself that she shares with us here at home. And with respect to something that we don't tend to measure, but I think we're going to have to soon, is the psychological and emotional impact.
Absolutely.
I know that my mayor is online right now. If we were to flip the switch and say, let's open tomorrow, it's unlikely anybody would, quote, go back to normal. So it's a delicate dance we're performing here.
How about
so
you,
obviously
Ruben?
it's hit you financially, Kevin. You can't afford a razor.
What's funny, Scott, is I actually get paid through West Chicago, so it's ironic.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the check is in the mail, Kevin.
What about you, Ruben? What have you seen as far as an impact on your community with retail and in taxes and healthcare?
Well, we're not anywhere near Naperville or Geneva or Aurora, but we have several businesses here, and they've all been impacted. We do have some great businesses that have been being very creative as far as finding new ways to sell their product and get their food out there. I can't thank Kevin Burns enough for allowing alcohol at the curb. So thank you very much for that, Mr. Burns.
Well, you're welcome, Ruben. And when you and Betty Ford come out, it's
but we've got several Mexican grocery stores here, and they've been doing a great job. And they led the drive when it came to the plexiglass being up there. Their employees having the PPE, having only one family member coming into the grocery store at the same time. Unlike another grocery store that we have in town that is just unlimited, 300 people in there at once, nobody's social distancing. Their employees were not, they didn't have any PPE. So it's worrisome. I don't know how far our community is going to go with the governor's declaration about wearing masks. I do when I go out in public. I think everybody should. I mean, it can be a false sense of security when you're out there with that, just like the gloves are. But we're making it work. One thing that we had with these good days that we had, the nice weather, our skate park has really been a problem. And I saw a post from a community in Connecticut that put sand on their skate park. And I sent it to the director of
that'll stop them.
I sent it to the director of the park district as kind of like a joke, and within a couple of days, our skate park had sand on it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're not out there. Well, they wouldn't listen no matter what we did. I mean, they'd wait for the police officer to go around the corner, and sure enough, they're back at it. So now they're trying to broom the skate park off, and we just keep putting more
Sure.
But
teenagers to clean, buddy. I mean, that's a good step in the right direction. You got teenagers to do cleaning.
But you also have the other that's going way overboard, and our kids need to get out there, but they're not social distancing. And I've spoken with all our superintendents from the schools, and they are policing their own playgrounds, and our park district is doing a good job of keeping everybody separate. But it's hard. I mean, and as this keeps going on, and the further this goes, people are getting cabin fever. They want to get out there. They
Sure.
They want to get together again. I mean, I can't tell you. I'm a hugger, so I don't. I barely hug my wife now. So
Well, I see. Well, that was when I knew you before. So I saw here that it says, "Can I please reopen my nail and beauty bar? I agree to follow all safety precautions and procedures to protect the health of our people." And that's really hard for.
Hey, one thing I do want to say: if a dog can get a haircut, I want to get one. So.
Right.
That's one of the things, Scott, is that I think a lot of our constituents don't understand the level of authority we have as mayors. That we don't really have that authority to make decisions about when it's opening and who opens and who's essential and things like that. That is done by the governor and the DCEO. And so I think that's been frustrating because people have, I'm sure mayors, you guys have all gotten tons and tons of emails. I'm getting 40 or 50 emails an hour right now, an hour. And
wow.
Some people are so frightened. I mean, just absolutely frightened about losing everything that they've worked for and just don't know what's going to happen. And they're pleading, asking for some relief and asking if they can open up like a spa. You just reminded me of. And I'm like, I would love to be able to give you, to tell you that you could do this, but I just don't have that authority.
Right.
And so it's really hard, really hard.
When it comes to the impact on your community, Steve, what have you seen? Because you guys have Edward Hospital, you guys have a lot of areas that have probably been impacted as well.
Yeah, well, our hospital, and I know the hospitals in Aurora as well, I think they were really well prepared for this, and they have performed so incredibly well. We are really grateful to have a healthcare facility like that in our town, and so they're obviously COVID everything right now, and so it's the people who are on the front lines are tired. This is what they're doing 24/7, and so it's been a lot of stress on that system. But the rest of the hospital is essentially empty. So there's just nothing else going on. It's the strangest thing. They're telling us that even normal health conditions like a heart attack or a stroke and things like that not happening. It's like, how does that work? And of course there's no car accidents because there's no traffic, so you don't have anything going on in the ER. So it's very, very strange, very busy in one section, but generally the hospital is right now about 45% capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of it's best we can tell right now. This was projected with the end date being April 30th. Best we could tell at that point was $18 million hole. So it's going to be just catastrophic.
It's going to be tough.
Right.
Definitely.
And if I may amplify what Mayor Chirico said, and Steve and Richard and is it Ruben? Yeah. We all know that the sales tax information we receive is 3 months behind.
Exactly right.
So all this speculation is one thing, but until we see the raw numbers, we may be either celebrating to some extent or really gasping for air.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell you from Aurora's perspective, there won't be much celebration.
Yeah.
Four of our largest, income generators, the Fox Valley Mall shut down, zero income. The Chicago Premium Outlet Mall, that's now being used for a testing site for COVID-19, shut down, zero income. Our casino, our Riverboat Casino, shut down, zero income. Our Paramount Theater, which was a huge draw for our downtown in the city of Aurora, shut down, zero income. A large majority of our restaurants only operating at about 20%, doing curbside pickup. We are in plus now. We're hearing, and maybe rightfully so, the counties are looking to defer when taxes need to be paid. So maybe they won't be all paid in June. They got a little bit of a delay. In Kane County, 30 days. So that's a 30-day period where we don't have cash. We don't have cash flow. The state just said income taxes. We don't have to pay income taxes until July. Now that's income so this is going to be a huge hit. We're projecting about $25 to $30 million hit in Aurora's budget.
Wow.
What's your budget?
So you see
400 million, 200 out of the general fund.
Wow.
So about 15%.
Yeah.
Of your general fund.
Absolutely.
That's what we're projecting as well.
That's crazy.
So are you getting? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you getting a lot of complaints from businesses directly to the mayors instead of going to the governor about not getting the help that they've been promised? financially through this day?
Yes, I mean, all politics is local, so people are going to start with who they know.
Sure.
You know, and then we direct them, we assist if we can, and direct them to the proper authority, governing agency.
To shift it to more of a lighter gear, I want to hear, because you guys have been home, I want to hear first, who are you guys quarantined with at home? And I would imagine you guys have all been trying to cook a little bit more. I know, Steve, you guys in Naperville, you guys started I don't remember what the hashtag was. Dine in Naperville, but I'm assuming you and Julie are trying to cook maybe a little bit more at home too. So I want to go around to kind of talk about what everybody's eating while in quarantine. Like, what recipes have you guys mastered? Let's start with Steve.
And who are you with?
Yeah, I'm with my wife, Julie, and so just the two of us here, and our two dogs. And so the dogs are thinking COVID-19 is the best thing that ever happened. They 2 walks a day, and they get played with all the time. And so yeah, but Julie's cooking a lot more now than than we used to, for sure. And it's nice. That's a good part of it, I guess. But we're trying to support the local restaurants as well. So we're doing a lot of the Uber Eats and things like that. And watching a lot of binge watching TV at night. You're saying, watching the Michael Jordan series the other night.
Tiger King.
And a bunch of other shows.
Can we all just really quick talk about Tiger King? Because what was that?
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, I watched 10 minutes of it on YouTube and decided I've never watched that show ever.
No, oh my God.
You can't write this stuff.
I will say I felt better admitting I'm from New Hampshire, though. After watching that.
I'd rather watch Ruben Pineda in his sniglet in high school.
It's crazy that the rest of the world outside of like a suburban area or urban area is this is how we live.
It made me feel so good about myself seeing those people. I'm like, all right, I got all my teeth, I got all my fingers,
your arms.
Yeah.
Arms, legs.
Kevin Burns, who are you quarantined with, and what are you guys doing food-wise?
Well, I have the honor of quarantining with Amy, and Amy and I, as you probably know, are vegans. So we are eating vegan food as we have been for the last 4 years, but we also are out at multiple restaurants here who also provide vegan fare. And our daughter, Florence, who's a nurse at Mercy, is also with us, but she, for all practical purposes, stays on another side of the house. But I do want to give a shout out to Cherico and Ruben, is it? Urban for ordering all your food from the Geneva restaurants.
Right on, happy to help.
My mom and my sister.
Happy to help.
What about you here, Ruben?
Geneva, so I've got to take food from Geneva over there. But every time I'm in town in Geneva, and I send Kevin a text from what I'm eating or where I'm at, and he hasn't reciprocated. So I don't,
Wow.
West Chicago is right next door.
It's called the ankle
He's
bracelet.
not sure how to get there.
Ankle bracelet. Mayor Irvin, who are you at home with, and what are you guys eating?
I'm with family as well, but I have to tell you that after I got diagnosed, and I'm the only one in my family that got diagnosed with COVID. After I got diagnosed, I spent a whole lot of time alone. Everybody kind of looking at me sideways, and scared to get near me. Understandably so, because I explained how terrible it was. But as far as cooking, I've done more cooking myself in the last couple of weeks than I've done in the last couple of years. And I think I've mastered the grilled cheese. I mastered it.
You want to know what I learned? The key is, I tried this yesterday. Instead of butter on the bread, if you put a little bit of mayonnaise on the bread, it makes it extra crispier. I did it yesterday and it works.
Mayonnaise on the edges of the bread?
No, just
inside.
like on the whole side that you fry on the pan.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, makes it extra.
And Danielle, an added tip: if you spray the pan with Lysol, it doesn't.
I know, and that might cure it. I don't want to start that. I don't want to continue that.
So, Mayor Pineda, you cook a lot. I know, because I've been to your house for dinner. But are you doing
You're
stuff?
allowed at
other
his
people
house.
that have never been to my house, Danielle.
Why don't you ever invite me?
Oh God.
How many times has she turned you down by now?
Let's see. What's today?
Not that I turned you down.
Saturday.
She's busy every time you ask
This is
me.
the
All
first time
47
she's been.
times.
Last week was the first time she was in my house via Skype or via this Facebook or whatever.
Right.
But yeah,
So you cooking all the time?
I'm very busy. I mean, work wise, and then with all these conference calls and everything else. But yeah, I cook. That's what I do. I love doing it. But I'm sharing my time with this beautiful woman.
Uh-huh.
Hi.
Oh,
Hey, guys.
good to
That's
see
my
you.
Julie.
Hold on, you didn't say we could have guests on here.
I know, right.
So yeah, it's Julie and I and the two dogs. Just like the mayor of Naperville, but she just made, what was it called?
It was a Greek Easter pastitsios.
Pasticcio, yeah. So
Sounds delicious.
but yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I'm Hispanic. I can live on rice and beans and potatoes and tortillas forever.
So can my wife.
And my mom lives with us, and she's got her own separate living area upstairs, and she thinks that she literally tries to give me rice and beans every single day. So it's it's not healthy, but it's good. Yeah, we're doing a great time. I mean, I'm working from home. I've been working from home for 5 weeks now, and I work for a very large corporation, Cintas, and we're busy. So, and again, Steve and you mayors know just as well as I do how many conference calls you're on a day. Right. So fortunately I can mute and keep working. And but Steve, and I know taking care of the mayors and managers for DuPage, he's been extremely busy. We talked to the governor, we talked to Lori Lightfoot, who and so we're trying to share a lot of ideas and try to get things going again. But we also got to look at it a different way. We're not Chicago. We're not Cook County. We don't have the same models that they do and the same numbers that they do as far as the cases go and the deaths. So I think we have to, the governor, I hope, can step back and take a look at this a little clearer and go, hey, you guys don't have the same numbers that Chicago has. So can we open up some of these smaller businesses and control those businesses, and they can control themselves by letting 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 people in, getting haircuts, outdoor restaurants. We've got one restaurant here in town who is a big portion of their business is outdoors. So they've got the volleyball courts and the bocce ball courts and they even bowl with frozen turkeys in the winter. And they're a big fundraising restaurant, Hawthorne's Backyard. And tomorrow they're having their second pig roast parade.
Is that where I went with you a couple months ago?
Yeah, that's where we were.
Nice.
But the pig roast parade, so they literally had 50, 60, 70 cars at a time trying to get it went from noon to 5. They ran out of food by 2. Wow. So they're doing it again tomorrow. Awesome. So you can drive through the parking lot and they bring it right out to you. They've got ribs and pork sandwiches and brisket and all kinds of stuff. But it's great and it's really helping them. So coming up with creative ideas like that are pretty, impressive.
So it looks like Cindy actually has a question. How are food pantries getting food to the senior communities? And maybe we can start with Mayor Irvin. I don't know if you've obviously been in touch with the food pantries in Aurora, I would imagine, and see what their plan is.
Yes, actually, I have a similar Facebook Live with the food pantries next week to talk about how they've been getting their food and the shortages if they have any, and what they're doing for our community. And as far as seniors, well, we have 2 food pantries, the Aurora Interfaith Food Pantry and the Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry. And they get the majority of their food from the Northern Illinois Food Bank, which has been on top of making sure that they still get their food. And what they've been doing, instead of people actually going inside the facility, they do curbside pickup, where they actually fill the bag, put everything in there that is healthy and that a family needs. And as people drive by, just hand the bag off. As far as seniors, we have a number of volunteers throughout Aurora that are taking that food directly to seniors who have requested it. So we're trying to make sure we cover every single base here in the city of Aurora with our folks in need of food.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we started a Facebook.
Steve, go ahead, please.
Okay, we started a Facebook page called Naperville Kindness Network, and it's a page to connect people who are offering services for free and people who need services. And so one of the things that's popped up there a number of times has been a couple of faith-based organizations have offered to do senior grocery shopping or medical drives or picking up pharmaceuticals and things like that. So and then we've had a group of college kids also that came together and offered to do the same thing. So just volunteers or getting out there, and then they just work with the food pantry to find out who needs the service.
Just all the kids you have, Steve, you could have your own volunteer group.
You know, I want to jump on to something Ruben said there about, you know, the governor and our stay-at-home shelter-in-place order. The reason that we don't have the numbers that, you know, a large city or other states like New York see is because mayors like us made sure that we jumped on board early and did the shelter-in-place and made sure our folks were paying attention to hygiene and washing hands and social distancing. And that's why we don't have the numbers, because we've been doing what is right. Had we done nothing, I'm sure West Chicago would not be able to claim that, you know, you have only a few numbers, a few people that have been have gotten COVID-19. Same for Naperville and Geneva. What we have done in agreement with the governor, making sure that we don't just pretend like this isn't happening or this isn't real. It has saved a number of people from being contracted with COVID-19 and saved a number of lives, I believe.
And you wouldn't have been able to open up as quickly as Georgia either.
Mayor, I agree. I think, you know, we were the second state to do the stay-at-home order, I believe. And so it was done fairly early, and I think that did make a difference. And so I support that decision, and I think, you know, that was an important thing to do. But I also know that, like, you know, more rural areas certainly have less chance of spread than urban areas just because of the way they live. Mass transportation, for an example, that would be a big part of it. So, you know, I do think that the governor should look at this more on a regional basis than as a statewide policy.
Yeah, I'm very proud of West Chicago. Our people are listening. My wife and I took the dogs for a walk, and it was early Saturday morning a couple of weeks ago, and I took a picture of my downtown, and there was no cars, no people. So, wow. You know, I did post it, you know, thank you, West Chicago, for listening. And that's important. You do have some people out there that just, one, doesn't believe this is for real. And two, you know, they're going crazy. They want to get out and they want to do things. One thing we cannot do is jump in, you know, back full force, because if we go back to zero and we have to start all over again, it'll be twice as bad as it is right now.
Absolutely. We need to
even longer. So we gotta, you know, like Lori Lightfoot said, Mayor Lightfoot, you know, it's not a light switch. You got to use a dimmer switch on this thing to get the economy back up and open, and just be smart about it, and keep level heads. I mean, I'm very, you know, we've tried to post as much as we possibly can just to make sure that everybody has the resources to get the phone number so they can call if they're depressed or if they're, you know, contemplating suicide or just, you know, going bat crazy in your house. Mm-hmm. You know, we've been trying to get that information out there quite a bit because it's important. That's the thing that is really we're going to see those numbers, unfortunately, because, you know, if you do have any kind of mental problems or mental health issues or this doesn't help. And especially if you're home alone. And if you're taking this whole pandemic thing on alone, it's really tough. And if you've lost your job or your whole household has lost their job and you don't know how you're going to pay the rent or the mortgage next or get any kind of medical, or you've lost all your benefits from work, you know, that's a lot of stress on you and your first responders and everybody else. And that's what, you know, unfortunately, you know, we'd love to help all these birthday parades and everything like that, but our first responders are already stressed and stretched enough. We apologize, but, you know, they've got a big job to do, and you can't thank these people enough, and our grocery store workers and everybody that's out there risking their lives and risking of bringing that COVID home with them to their families. It's a whole lot of stress. So
you mentioned about the job loss.
You're right that we need to make sure that as we start to bring the economy back, that we don't forget all the things that we've been doing lately and incorporate that into our daily lives, because we can't allow ourselves to get complacent at this point.
Right. Nobody here wants to be the mayor in the movie Jaws.
Yeah.
Keep having sequels. Yeah, right. Jaws 1, 2, 3, 4.
You look a lot like him.
You know,
So let me
Mayor,
ask you this. Go ahead.
Mayor Pineda, your mother just hopped on Facebook saying, "I love you, son. Your dinner's ready."
Who's really
It's funny.
Let me ask you this.
I saw a post today. It said frozen buns, instant mashed potatoes, corn in a can, and the cheapest ground beef you could possibly find. Just like Mom used to make.
So let me ask you guys this.
Facebook, anybody, because we're not able to get to every single question, but the city of Aurora just did put, if you have any questions specifically for Aurora, you can email myaurora@aurora-il.org. So that's myaurora@aurora-il.org. So.
There was a question here that somebody was asking about what we're going to do for our 2020 graduates. We're still talking about it. We're not sure yet. I know Winfield has put banners up with all the students post, pictures on it. Glen Ellen has signs so we've got to be creative here. And I'm working with the school district and seeing what we're going to do for the 2020 graduates. We don't know. And you can't take it into August because a lot of those kids are going to be going to college. So, you really can't plan something when we're not sure when this is all going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Anybody else have any other plans?
To that point, Ruben, Geneva's canceled all its summer festivals for all practical purposes. Yeah. So there is no Swedish Days. There is no Memorial Day parade. And my gut tells me it's likely that you'll see no activity up until at least August.
Yeah, and we canceled our Blooming Fest, which is a big fundraiser for our garden club, and now we're looking at Railroad Days. Yeah. Steve's happy he got rid of Rib Fest. So
yeah, Steve.
Me or no can figure that one out.
I'll let you slide on that one.
So we don't know what we're going to do. Our chamber runs Railroad Days, so he's waiting to hear from me. I'll be having that conversation with Dave shortly. But we're also waiting to see what the governor's going to say as far as what festivals. And people are going to be very leery about going out into large crowds right now. I mean, exactly. I know our pool might not open, and I'm sure other pools aren't going to. I mean, you got parents that aren't going to want to send their kids to these swimming pools.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of and we don't know when the end is. So,
and let me jump on there, Ruben, if I may. There is a lot of concern about, do we flip the switch or do we dim the lights, as Mayor Lightfoot put it. But I think it's going to be a natural progression, as Mayor Burns, Kevin stated. Just because we say that people are okay to go back out and we lift the stay-at-home order, people are going to be leery. There's not a vaccine yet. We're dealing with the same issues that we dealt with before we went on lockdown. So without a vaccine or any mitigating type of medication to reduce the seriousness of the COVID-19 and the coronavirus, we're pretty much in the same position. What we are now is a little smarter. So now we practice social distancing. We make sure we wash our hands. We make sure we wear masks. Not necessarily, not only to ensure that we don't breathe the COVID-19 out in the air, but we don't touch our face. Have you ever thought if you have a mask on your face, it's hard to touch your face, which is how COVID-19 gets into your body. So we're smarter, and we'll practice smarter techniques to ensure that we keep our community safe. But until we get a vaccine, it's going to be slow growing things back to the way it was.
Yeah.
Have any of you talked at all? And I saw someone had asked this question. Has anyone brought up the fact of the first payment on property taxes being delayed or anything of those sorts?
Yeah, I talked about that. I think we're going to it's a $40 million delay. So we will have a cash flow problem for 30 days in Kane County. And I don't know what the county decided in DuPage. They were thinking about either between 30 or 90 days. What did they decide on? Do you know?
I don't think it's been decided yet, Mayor.
It hasn't at DuPage County, no.
Yeah. So we know for sure there's going to be a 30-day delay in Kane, exactly. which will interrupt cash flow. Now we'll get the money, but how do we pay our police and our fire and our workers? That for that period of time where we don't have that money that we rely on.
And the schools
that rely on
depend on property taxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
hey, Mayor Irving, I think and Mayor Burns, I think you're right in your comments that it's going to happen sort of naturally, except for a couple of businesses like hair salons. As soon as those open back up, women are going to go back out there as soon as they're open.
I'm going to get a haircut as soon as they're open. So yeah.
Yeah. Mayor Cherico, I would recommend the hair plugs I've gotten years ago.
Well, they look good, man. They look damn good. They look damn
It's a hell of an investment.
Hey, Steve, ask Mayor Burns to rap for us, would you please? Come on, Kevin, let's see that rap again, dude.
It's the first time I've met you, Mayor Ruben Pineda, so please.
Here's a question. I know you guys have all worked, because the cool thing about living in this general community is that the mayors regionally work together to make, Mayor Irvin isn't just there to support Aurora. He's also there to support his surrounding communities, as is Steve Cherico and Burns and Pineda. Do you guys, and knowing each other for so many years, have any dirt on each other? Lighthearted dirt? I already know some dirt between Steve and Ruben.
God, yes. Well, I know Mayor Irvin's security code name. But I don't want to use it because the FCC would shut us down.
I knew two of Kevin's credit cards, but
That's funny. All right, so I take
he
it that
does make me wash his car to get those every week. So
Yeah, you missed a spot too.
we mentioned this briefly a little bit ago. We were talking about first responders and how they're kind of stretched thin. And maybe if we go around the room and give everybody just 2 minutes to really praise their first responders and how, police, fire, healthcare, and how they've gone above and beyond to support the community during such a tough time. Maybe Steve Cherico from Naperville, we can start with you.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, we're so proud of them. I had to tell you that they have really stepped forward. Our fire department, firefighters, paramedics, we had several days, and we have about 170 members of that staff. We had several days in the last couple of weeks where we had zero absenteeism. Zero. Of that many people. That's very unusual under normal conditions. Mm-hmm. But to have that under these conditions is just incredible. So of course the first responders, all the mayors here will attest to this. We're asking them to do things that are very risky, and they have to do it professionally. They represent our communities, and they have to do it safely. And they have just performed outstanding work. Just outstanding.
How about you, Kevin Burns?
I would echo everything Steve just said. It's heartening to know that irrespective of what we're facing, a community tends to gain its strength and its hope and its satisfaction knowing that the first responders are present no matter what. So pandemic or otherwise, we're proud of our men and women who wear the uniform. One thing in particular I'd like to say about Geneva is that, as other communities have certainly experienced, the desire for the community to support our first responders by providing food and bringing dinners and what have you, our departments have said, we appreciate it, we're grateful, we're touched, but give it to someone else. Bring it to someone else who needs it. For a couple of reasons. Number one, it's not needed. Number two, we don't want to risk that transmission of bringing food into a building, et cetera. So it's a very, again, delicate balance, but the men and women of our team are doing extraordinarily well.
Mayor Irvin from Aurora.
I am so very proud of my first responders. We have 300 police officers, a little over 300 police officers, a little over 200 firemen. And since I become mayor, we've dealt with a number of tragedies. Pratt, of course, last year, right around the same time, the mass shooting, and now COVID-19. And our police department and fire department continue to step up every single time. These are true heroes, as well as our healthcare workers that are on the front line as well. But those are under hospitals. Those are private under hospitals. I work directly with the police and fire, and these men and women are some of the most courageous people that will put themselves in harm's way, and will every single day to make sure that our community is protected. We have two. I want to send shouts out. We have two of our high-ranking police officers that'll be retiring that stayed on a little bit longer than they planned on because of this crisis. And that's our Deputy Chief Keith Jackson, just retired yesterday, one of our stars, our amazing heroes here. We wish him well, but he's done a great job making sure we get to this point to where we're successful. And we're ready to open soon when the governor lifts the stay-at-home order, as well as and that's our deputy police chief. We have our deputy fire chief, John Gilbert, who will retire in 2 weeks as well, who's also been, an amazing voice in making sure that we keep all this together. Every time they go into a situation now, and it's the same with every police department, West Chicago, Naperville, Geneva, they have to assume they're coming in contact with a person that may be infected with COVID-19. Yet they go into those circumstances willingly to make sure they protect our communities and care for them. Our firemen, doing MS calls. They have to go on to calls where people are breathing and bleeding, and they do it, and they do it because they care about their job, they care about the community they represent, and I can't be more proud. Can't be more proud to be the mayor of a city with such an honorable police and fire department.
And now we turn to Mayor Ruben Pineda of West Chicago.
I'm echoing everything that the other mayors said. They're fantastic. Our fire department is a district, and they've gotten together with several other communities. So they don't only roll here in West Chicago. They roll in Carroll Stream, Wheaton, Winfield, Bloomingdale. So they're out there. So anytime that there's a fire, they have to roll to every single fire. So we send a truck out. So it's a lot of work. So they're not only taking care of their community, they're taking care of several other communities, and they just do an amazing job. I can't tell you how proud I am of all our first responders here, and and going from the fire and police, none of ours have called in sick. It's just been amazing what they've been able to do. And this was, thrust upon them. I mean, nobody expected this, and they've all stepped up, big and bold, and again, taking that risk of bringing that home to their families is very stressful. But you got to look at everybody, the nurses, the doctors, our grocery store workers, everybody that's out there every single day doing this. You can't thank them enough. And I hope somewhere in the future we can, have some kind of big celebration for all our first responders. We have people here that started a ribbon program and showing their support by tying ribbons on the trees and whatnot. But yeah, it's, they're fantastic. And, I don't know how we can thank them the way they should probably be thanked later on, but I hope we can.
Well, we could see the 6 of us clapping right now. That would be kind of cool in our little squares. It sounds really bizarre.
And to Mayor Pineda's point, how do you thank them? I would suggest dinner in Geneva.
You know what I wanted to ask you guys, though? So you're in your houses, you can't go out, you're quarantined. What was your first takeout from your town?
We went to Hawthorne Backyards. The Thursday, they got a rack and a half of ribs for, I think it's $20, and they're amazing. I mean, they barbecue and smoke every day. They're an amazing company. Lou, who owns Hawthorne's Backyard, couldn't be more. He donates to just about everything. So when we see those posts that all these businesses that you've asked for donations for your kids' baseball team and their basketball team, it's time to pay back, and they deserve everything. And we've got fabulous Mexican restaurants. And Scott's been to Coco Loco. I can't tell you how many times. Still hasn't bought dinner, but he's been there.
Well, I have gotten many margaritas there.
But yeah, my first was Hawthorne's, and I'm trying to support everybody. So
sure.
Coffee, we've got a coffee shop here that makes the most absolute wonderful muffins. So my wife has become a muffin junkie over there, and
nice.
Just decaf mochas.
How about you, Mayor Burns?
Yeah, well, I'd like to hear Mayor Pineda use more words that describe the absolute wonderful best of all, because that was
I got that from our president, I think.
I was we have eaten at dozens of restaurants. Our first takeout order was at a little place that just opened on State Street not too long ago. Scott, you may be familiar. It's called Cravings.
Yes.
And it is, they open at obviously an unusual time, but they are extraordinarily generous people, kind people, and they serve vegan options, which is
okay.
And I pledge veganism so I don't look like Ruben Pineda. So it's
Hey, Mayor Burns.
Handsomely means.
Mayor Burns, I know how you can make any vegan dish taste better.
I can only
add meat. Exactly right. Add some steak.
I swear I saw you eat a piece of cheese, and when you first came on, you were eating, I don't know, a hot dog.
Hey, listen. By the way, I love your mother because rice and beans are good and they're vegan, baby.
Yeah.
Your mother's a smart lady. She must be disappointed in you.
What about you, Mayor Cherico?
You know what? When Hugo's Frog Bar, when COVID first happened, they were doing a special where they were selling all their steaks at cost. So you can get a prime steak there for $18.
Wow.
And it was just in the package. It wasn't cooked. So they brought it here, and then we cooked on the grill. It was a great deal. And it's they have that quality of food. So that was our first dine in Naperville thing that we did. It was wonderful.
Did you get a 1 pound potato?
Yeah, those things are huge.
Crazy.
Where they grow that big?
I feel like you guys started that hashtag of Dine in Naperville, you and Julie, and then everybody started following suit and circling it back to you. And now it feels like you guys are nonstop getting inundated with, all right, time to dine in Naperville.
Go back around again. Yep. So
what about you in Aurora, Mayor Irvin?
I actually went to 3 restaurants that day because I knew I'd be in for a while, so I wanted to stock up. I went to, and we have kind of 3 separate portions of Aurora. We have out by the Fox Valley Mall, our DuPage area, our center portion of Aurora, we call it Central East, and then far west. On the far west side, I went to a restaurant called Spartan House, and they have some of the best food that you ever wanted to have there. I know the owner there, very good guy. The center portion of Aurora, we went to a place. I went to a place called Ruben's, which also does catering. They've been around
forever and ever.
Forever, and got a couple different.
My sister's wedding.
Or did they? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, as we get to the east over there, I went to El Burrito Loco because we have some of the best Mexican restaurants, around here in the city of Aurora. So I had all 3 that day. And I didn't stop there, actually. That was just the first day, and I even
breakfast,
added
lunch,
more.
and dinner.
Exactly. I added more as the couple days went on, while I could eat. But after I got tested, it went all downhill from there. So that only lasted. And, I don't want to forget La Quinta de los Reyes. I also got some food there just the other day. But, while I was sick, I didn't eat much of anything.
Yeah. Mayor Cherico, I saw something cool that was going on over the last couple weeks that I wanted you to maybe explain about a little bit more. And I know you guys, you and Julie, were part of this too. There was some joy in your front yard.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So our good friends, Kim and Benny White, Benny's a councilman here in Naperville. Kim is the executive director for an organization called the Career and Network Center. And they help people who are unemployed find employment in our region. And so somebody made a joy sign that's lit up, and they put it in the front yard, and they said, hey, if anybody donates $200, you can have this, we'll bring this over.
Gigantic. It's
so
huge.
My wife donated $200, and they brought it over here, and then we started a little competition, Julie and I, and we started tagging people, and we raised about $10,000 getting people to donate $200 to put in their yard. Wow. So, and I'm very, very pleased to tell you that I won the competition.
So there's been joy all over Naperville in people's front yards. This big, huge joy decoration has been traveling from yard to yard, and I see it on somebody else's yard every time. It's really nice to see that.
I think a little Kevin Burns gnome would be perfect.
I have the gnome right now, but I stole it. I didn't pay $200 for it.
I could totally see that, man. A little gnome that looks like Kevin Burns. I could totally see that, man, especially with the beard.
We could get $30, $40. I think we could get about $30, $40 raised.
Exactly, a beard and a red hat.
That's
What about any of the rest of you guys? Have you guys kind of seen fun, cool stories? This is a really serious time, and there's a lot of serious updates, and we have to make sure that we're focusing on that. But, you kind of see these great stories that make you feel good inside. Have you guys seen any of that within your communities?
Sure. I mean, so many people are doing things that to help out. I mean, we had a group of women who offered to make face coverings, decorative kind of bandanas and things. So they're dropping off 300 of them over at City Hall to donate. Just so many stories. I'm sure all the mayors have had so many stories of people doing things. Had several companies offer to donate PPE for the first responders. Now, there's certain quality levels that you have to achieve to use that professionally, but it's just so kind of everybody to be doing that.
Cool.
Mayor Burns?
Again, I would echo what Steve said. I think perhaps what's most inspiring is those stories that you don't necessarily see but hear about after the fact. Oftentimes there's a fine line between doing what's well because of philanthropy and doing what's well to be congratulated. And so many of the good things that are being done for the right reasons. And oftentimes percolate when you discover what's being done for the right reasons. That's what really touches me. Be kids, whether it be adults, whether it be folks who are struggling just as hard as everyone else, but they're still continuing to give as they can, when they can, and where they can. That's what's most inspiring.
And I want to thank the Geneva police. They left a note on my door in my garage in the alley last night.
Yeah.
I left my garage door open, and they said, for safety's sake, could you please close your garage door so no one steals anything?
They first called Kevin to go through your garage.
I did. I went through your garage and I took those mannequins, which was odd.
There goes my summer.
So as we kind of wrap up here, maybe we can go around the table and just give everybody a minute or two to kind of speak to your community directly or the surrounding communities, letting them know we're all in it together, and just kind of give you your time to kind of wrap things up. And maybe we can start with Mayor Urban.
I'm very proud of my community. I think we've all stepped up and recognized that we're in this together, and only working together are we going to be able to get past this crisis. And we've, as the other mayors have pointed out, I've heard so many harrowing stories of people stepping up and just showing support for their fellow man and fellow Auroran. And it warms your heart to see that people in these times will actually come together. You hear the stories on the news about all the bad things, but you never hear about the good things that happen on a larger basis every single day. And when we hear that and see that, it makes me feel good to be a public servant.
Awesome. Mayor Pineda.
Yeah, I said it before, and I say it all the time. I'm very, very proud of my community. They are listening. I've put out about 6 messages from the mayor just to make sure everybody's up to speed on what's really happening. Our website and Rosemary Mackey has done a fabulous job of getting all that information out. So if people do go to our westchicago.org website, you're going to get not only the information on what's happening in West Chicago, but from our county and our state. So please go there if you have any questions. We are amazing. Our faith-based groups have been fantastic. Our food pantries have been absolutely wonderful. Again, Kevin, thank you. I'm going to use that word as much as I can. But yeah, very proud of West Chicago. And, I hope one thing that comes out of this is that it's that time together as a family where you sit down for dinner again and you actually socialize as a family, and hopefully everybody's off their tablets and their computers and whatnot and their telephones. But, my wife, she says when she's walking around, she gets to see these families out there playing together as kids and laughing, and like we did when we were kids, that we'd get up in the morning and wouldn't come back until either we were hungry or the sun went down. So hopefully the family unit comes back together like that. And we are united, West Chicago. I mean, we will get through this. This too will pass. And we'll all be able to celebrate it sometime, somewhere in the near future. So thank you, West Chicago.
Thank you, Mayor.
How
Mayor
about you,
Terrico.
Kevin? Oh.
So
Go together. Do it so we can save time.
Same time.
I just want to thank Mayor Pineda for bringing in Last Century when he was a kid. That was a sweet tie into the Century of Progress. That was nice.
It's where history and progress meets, damn it.
So,
Mayor Jericho, please.
we have asked so much from so many. It's just incredible how many people who have been giving, and the people that we've talked about, our first responders, the healthcare workers. I mean, all the different people who have stepped up to try to help out. But then there's all the people who have had to step down, and not willingly. They've had to step down and step away from their careers, their livelihoods, their businesses, and it's really heartbreaking to watch this. But they've done it, and they've done it, and they've listened, and they know that what this means to their family. But they're listening still, and they're still willing to do what's best for the community, put the community before themselves. And so, I don't know how we repay anybody at this point for all that's been given up. But I know that I'm very grateful, and so and COVID will pass. And when COVID passes next year, very likely it will be in our rearview mirror, and we're going to have a lot of many lingering effects of COVID to deal with for a long time. And so we just got to hang in there, and we will get through it. But but the people who have given so much, given up, and also stepped forward are owed a lot.
And Mayor Burns.
What? I heard a Yeti
the smallest
speaking.
community.
Yeah, I heard a Yeti speaking. I got scared. Finally, we get a picture of Bigfoot. What the hell? Geneva is the smallest community represented here at the table, but I think it underscores the privilege of good things come in small packages. And while I'm very, very proud of the community, obviously those professional staff, firefighters, police officers, our students, our teachers, everybody, I think what I'm most proud of is that we will likely take away from this experience lessons that we can teach each other moving forward. And we only have to talk to those people who have lived through depressions and else to understand really what sacrifice and struggle is all about. And now it's our turn to learn those lessons as well, and to hopefully learn from them and make them teachable moments moving forward.
There's been so many good things that have come from this too, innovation and things like that. That last well belong to. And I would be curious to hear from each of the mayors just very quickly. What would you most like to see stay from COVID in post-COVID?
Kevin's beard.
What it is for me, because Julie and I we take our dogs for walks and all that, and there's so many people out walking now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody greets everybody now. And it wasn't like that before. Everybody just good morning, good afternoon. It's really nice, and so I really hope that remains after COVID is in our rearview mirror.
I would like to see a renewed interest in what we've enjoyed the last month, almost by default, is a cleaner environment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's a renewed interest in more green infrastructure and presence. I'd also, perhaps on a personal level, like to see that picture behind Steve remain, because those kids are now 10 years older.
How about you, Mayor Urban?
Here, I'll let you see it. I'll try to angle it up.
There you go. Wow. Beautiful family picture, brother.
Every time that they post a new family picture, I'll text Steve and I'll say, your family just looks like a bunch of models. Like I can't believe how beautiful your family is.
I got to brush my teeth because of the saccharin.
Every time a crisis of this magnitude, it only happens, seems, about every 100 years, it changes, society. It changes how we communicate, how we associate with people. And what we've seen here, how people step up and show the care for their fellow man and their next door neighbor, like it used to be when maybe in the 70s when I grew up, and maybe some of you guys remember, where things were just simpler. I know this is the technological age these days, and things will never be as simple as they used to be. but just to share some simple things amongst each other. It's going to be a while before we start shaking hands and hugging like we used to, but I think to recognize that we're all in this together, and not just this COVID situation. We're all in life together, so let's just always look out for each other. And on my geek side, I think some of the technological things that we're doing, like with the dashboards that identifies almost predictive analytics, and shows when things are happening, you can read it easily and address the issue when it comes. So there are a lot of things that I think that will come from this that are not only we'll remember that are bad, but innovations, social, technological innovations that will be good for our future.
Agreed. Mayor Pineda?
Well, you said the 70s, Mayor Irving. Kevin remembers the 40s.
I know.
So
I didn't want to ask anybody's age.
Well, Mayor Pineda lived through the Great Fire, so this is your second.
Well, I brought up the family unit before, and it's good to see, and I hope that's what comes out of this all, that families are closer. The partnerships that we have now with the other mayors, I've always believed in partnerships. So you come to find out who you can work with and how great it is to work. I mean, like to get the 4 mayors here tonight, because we had so much to do on Saturday night.
I was busy, man. I don't know if I got to change things around.
What was your honorarium, Ruben?
What was that?
I'm sorry, I'll use a different word than honorarium.
Oh.
How much were you paid to be here?
Danielle, can I am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Speak Spanish, Kevin.
No muy inteligente.
Oh, wow. Here's one thing that I'm wondering, because I've seen you all kind of doing different things while going through this, and I think I know the answer that everybody's going to say. Who actually wears something other than sweatpants on Zoom calls?
No, I mean, right now I've got my people and my slippers. I mean, where are we going?
I've got my 1982 Geneva High School track uniform on.
Mayor Cherico, the question is, do you have pants on?
I do have jeans on. I'll tell you, the one day I went in, I've been going to City Hall. City Hall is closed, so there's nobody there. It's the safest place in our city right now. So I go in every day and do my work. And the one day, the only day, I went there with a sweatshirt on, and I never do that. And I got interviewed by a couple of media stations, and so I'm like,
never again.
I did a video, and Rosemary Mackey, who takes care of all our PR for West Chicago, she says, well, no, that's just a practice run, right? Because you're in a t-shirt. And I told her, if Rachel Ray doesn't have to wear makeup and can be in sweats and a sweatshirt cooking in her house, I can be in a t-shirt. So.
You're just like Rachel Ray, too.
Yep, that's a good comparison. You and Rachel Ray.
Mayor Irvin, I know every time I've ever seen you, COVID or non-COVID, you've always been one of the sharpest dressed people in the room. So I would imagine you're always wearing a suit, even when you sleep.
The pants match with the jacket, so I got to match them together. I think it was the Garanimals, wasn't it? Garanimals that taught you how to match things. I think it just stuck with me from the 70s, where I just got to match the bottom to the top.
I think he just wants to make us all look bad. That's right.
I don't own cufflinks.
I'll get you a pair, brother.
Yeah,
for your birthday.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you. We want to thank you all very much for joining us. What do you miss the most? Just in like 2 words.
My girlfriend.
Thank you.
Wow. Isn't your
Mayor
wife sitting
Cherico?
right next to you?
Yes, she left the room. You kidding?
In the bathroom.
I think I just miss our friends, and just miss being social and being able to go and visit with people. It's, I'm looking forward to being able to see everyone again.
I'd like to see you, Mayor Burns, outside of Aldi.
I'd like never to see you again.
It's not going to happen.
I know. Yeah. I miss seeing
Pineda?
Urban's motorcade. I mean,
You'll see it again soon, brother.
What do you really miss, Kevin?
I do miss, like Mayor Cherico said, the impromptu socialization, whether you're downtown, whether you're somewhere, and just that opportunity to visit and have a conversation organically. Just hasn't happened in 6 weeks. That's tough.
Mayor Irvin, what are you missing?
I think, just being around people. And I think you can tell as we all laugh and joke and we're having a good time and haven't seen each other in a while. It's important for all of us to every so often get together and just joke it up a little bit.
Mayor Pineda?
Good scotch. No, I'm just.
You drink it all?
Yeah, I'm drinking my Greg, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Whatever.
One thing that I spent a lot of time with the kids here in West Chicago, and I miss going and visiting those kids. I mean, I spend a lot of time with them. That's the only chance I get to be a rock star. And when I go to those schools, and getting out there with the people and just doing business as normal. It's just it's kind of weird. The world's it's gonna be a completely different world when this is all said and done. I mean, people are gonna look at it completely different. But I miss the kids. I mean, and now it won't be until I see them quite often. As long as I can get out there again and start doing the whole Healthy West Chicago thing and everything, I can get out there with the kids. I mean, we've got Move with the Mayor coming in September, and I hope we can do it. I mean, we've won accolades across the country for that as a small community. So, when you get out there with 200-300 kids, it's pretty amazing, and it's a great feeling. And I wish.
And plus, Mayor, you're about the same height.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Same height. Pretty bad when the third graders.
That's why I make sure I only go to grade school.
Scott and I have been talking about once everything starts to open back up and people can start, getting out and moving and going out to eat and going to shows and stuff. We're going to do like a traveling dinner party or lunch party. And I would love it when we come to your guys' communities, if you guys would come and have lunch with us or dinner or breakfast or whatever. When we're able to get to your community, we're going to start hopping around to a bunch of different places, and you're all invited to
go and join us. And
yeah.
Hey, I'm willing, when this is all said and done, I'm willing to cook dinner for all of you guys.
Everybody watching, he means, like everybody watching.
Yeah, everybody will show except Danielle.
Has anyone on the call ever had Mayor Pineda's food?
I have not.
He's an amazing, amazing, amazing cook. My wife, she has a request list of 3 things that every time she goes over, she wants either his fried chicken and the best asparagus I ever had. That's for sure.
Wow.
Ribs, baby.
Ribs, amazing.
And you gotta have us over this summer.
Do you have any vegan options, Ruben?
Grass.
Ribs.
The grass.
You want to hang out with your mother in the attic.
The vegan option is Amy.
Thanks for her.
Really, he's not going to cook vegan.
Damn it.
No,
we'll leave you in the car, Kevin. Sorry.
Any other closing remarks before we finish up? Thank you guys, by the way, for taking time out of your Saturday to sit and kind of talk with us. I know there's a lot of serious stuff going on, but it's nice to be able to have a conversation that we get the point across on certain things, but we can also smile a little bit. So any other remarks that any of you guys want to add before we finish up?
I just want to say that you'll hear from my attorney.
Thank you guys for doing this for us.
Yes,
thank you. I hope it's this easy to get you guys back together after COVID-19. I have a feeling
I can make no promise
in different directions. I didn't expect any.
No, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mayor Steve Cherico from Naperville, Kevin Burns from Geneva, Mayor Richard Irvin from Aurora, and Ruben Pineda, the mayor of West Chicago. Thank you for the roundtable. We had a blast with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.
See you at Aldi, Kevin. Bye.
Bye, guys.